Assalamu alaikum dear Sebastians and welcome back again. I hope you are doing well back at your homes. Dear students, in our previous videos we were trying to cover our first chapter that is cell structure and organization. Dear students, in our previous lessons we have mainly covered these topics. Today I will briefly explain you the summary of this chapter we have covered, and I'm pretty much sure that you are also ready for this because we have covered all these topics in individual videos. So first of all, we talk about a cell. As we all know that cells are the basic building blocks of all the living organisms. That means all the living organisms are basically made up with the cells. Then we talked about the components of the cells. That cells are the building blocks, but cells have different components. Like it has a cell wall around it. If we talk about the plant cell, remember in animal cells there is no cell wall present around it. First component is cell wall, then cell membrane, that membrane which separates the inner organelles of the cell from the outer part of the cell. So cell wall, cell membrane, nucleus, the bean-like nucleus, the largest organelle of the cell. We have studied about the nucleus. Then we talked about the cytoplasm. Then we studied about the cell vacuole and the chloroplast. So these were some of the components of the cell, and then we talk about the difference between the cell wall and the cell membrane. Remember, we should know what is the difference between cell wall and the cell membrane, as we have discussed in our previous lesson. That cell wall is a freely permeable and cell membrane is a semi-permeable membrane. Cell wall is made up with the cellulose and cell membrane made up with the lipids and proteins. So we should know that cell wall is also a dead part of the cell, but the cell membrane is a living part of the cell. So we should know about the difference of cell wall and cell membrane. Then we talk about the nucleus that controls the metabolism of the cell, and it contains the chromosomes, the hereditary material in it. And then we talked about the cytoplasm. Cytoplasm is basically the living part of the cell. All the metabolic processes occur in cytoplasm. They are controlled by the nucleus, but they occur in the cytoplasm. Then we talk about the cell vacuole. Cell vacuole basically is a storehouse for the sugar and different ions. Then we studied about the chloroplast. Chloroplast is basically a large organelle present within a cell, within a plant cell, and that carry out the process of photosynthesis, which is very necessary for the living things. Then that was all about the components of the cell. And then we comparison between the plant and the animal cell. Then we compare a plant cell with the animal cell. As we all know that plant cell have a cell wall and animal cell do not have. Plant cell is bigger than the animal cell. Plant cell, as it has a cell wall around it, it has this rigid shape, but the animal cell, that it can change its shape a little bit. So there were some of the differential points between plant and animal cell. Then we talked about some of the specialized cells, and these specialized cells were the root hair cells, xylem vessels, and the red blood cells. Root hair cells and its adaptations. That root hair cells basically they adapted to absorb the water, and they basically increase the surface area of the root. And their adaptations were that they are long and they are thin. That was all about the adaptations of the root hair cells. Then we talked about the xylem vessels, and xylem vessels are basically the long hollow cylinders, lignified cylinders. They are basically the dead cells of the plant. So they carry the water, or they transport the water from the roots to the other parts of the plant, and they also provide support to the plant. So what are their adaptations? The xylem vessels, they are basically adapted to support and to transport the water, but their adaptations, like their cells become lignified, and the lignification is one of the adaptation of the xylem vessels. Then we talk about another kind of specialized cell, that they were the red blood cells. And red blood cells, as we all know, that the most common cells present within our blood, and they appear red due to a red color pigment, that is a hemoglobin. And what is the special adaptation for the red blood cells? That they adapted to carry the oxygen from lungs to the other respiring tissues of the body, and they have special adaptations. They do not have a nucleus in them, so that more hemoglobin can pack into the cell, and they are flexible so that they can pass through the capillaries, tiny capillaries, and they have a biconcave shape. And due to this biconcave shape, they are able to increase the surface area of the so that more oxygen and more the gases can exchange through them. Then we talked about the level of organizations, that how an organism is made, and as far as the level of organization is concerned, organisms are made basically, if we talked about the flow chart, the organisms are made up with the cells, as we talked about that cells are the building blocks of the living organisms. Cells, then specialized cells unite together to form tissues, same kind of tissues unite together to form organs, and organs, different organs unite together, work together to form organ system, and they all the organ system within a body, they form an individual. Then we talk about the organs, and organs in a human body, there are different organs present, like liver, brain, heart, lungs, stomach, small intestine. So that was all about the organs. Then we talked about the organ systems. In human body, there are 7 types of organ systems are present, and the organ systems are basically digestive system, in the central nervous system, respiratory system, circulatory system, endocrine system, and I hope I have covered all the systems, and that was all about the cell structure and organization. That was all about the chapter number 1 we have covered in our previous lessons, and I hope you have understood the whole summary of that chapter, and now you would be able to do the exercise I am going to share with you on your screen, and you have to do that exercise by your own. I am going to share that exercise right on your page right now. Dear students, pause this video, note these questions, and do that exercise by your own.